Courtyardville owners in the villages are up in arms over a botched fiber installation. The couple agrees to pay $12,000 to settle lawsuit over home destroyed by fire. Closing of Sundays in the villages shocks and saddens a lot of fans. Villager IDs his own son as a theft suspect caught on surveillance at the local Walmart. Villager was arrested after going out for breakfast. Residents say it's time to restore the promise of cap on amenity rates. Villager was sentenced for personal purchases on a company credit card. Daughter gets her first hole-in-one while visiting for Mother's Day, while an 84-year-old resident gets his 12th hole-in-one while golfing with his daughter. How many holes-in-ones of golf did we get this week? Letters to the editor. This and more. Coming up. This week's news is brought to you by my Patreon and YouTube members. Thanks, guys. You're the best. Let's have some more news. An elected official in the villages is calling for the restoration of a limit on amenity rates paid by residents. Those of you who don't know, we used to have a cap on the amenity fees, and then they voted 4 or 5 years ago to do away with the cap. I said then, if you go back on the news, you'll find me making a statement. This is a mistake. Once you release that cap, you're opening the doors to Pandora's box for spending. I want to see the cap back in place for the amenities, said Community Development District 1 Board Chairman Rocky Hyder. He said residents who are paying more and more for everything from groceries to insurance want to have some assurance that there will be some limit on what they are expected to pay for amenities. Hyder's declaration made at Friday's CDD1 Board of Supervisors meeting at Savannah Center comes at a time when many residents are angry about the millions of dollars in amenity money being spent to restore and renovate golf courses. Many residents believe the oversight of the care of the golf courses was lax and largely delegated to contractors, and I agree with that. But like any other government, and we are, they point the fingers everywhere but where they need to go. Meanwhile, the Amenity Authority Committee and Project-Wide Authority Committee are approving larger budgets each year loaded with new projects. Christmas has got to end, Hyder said. Back in 2019, there was a cap, also known as a deferral rate, which was set at $155 per month. That same year, the AAC and PWAC decided to abandon the cap. The motivation, especially for PWAC, was fueled by grim financial forecasts which showed that expenses would exceed revenues in the years ahead. Like that wasn't planned. As of January 1, the prevailing rate for new homes and resales climbed to $195 a month. Homeowners who remain in the residence are subject to amenity rate hikes in accordance with the Consumer Price Index. Just to be fair, for what amenities we have here, The price is very, very low if you compare it to the amenities in other retirement communities that don't have near the amount of amenities we have here. But there's a lot of other things that goes in with that too. Since 2019, the Amenity Authority Committee has occasionally discussed the idea of returning to the cap. However, the AAC and PWAC are essentially in a marriage, and both would have to abandon the cap, something PWAC isn't likely to do. Politics. Isn't it fun? And on the lighter side, a villager has been sentenced for using a company credit card for $3,822 in personal fuel purchases. Robert Earl Dirth, 72 of the village of Chitty Chatty, used his company credit card from Sales Core USA to make the fuel purchases for his white 2013 Kia SUV between September 12, 2022 and October 17, 2023. That's a lot of gas for a little car. By the way, this is kind of an update. We reported this guy when he first got arrested. He was caught on video 7 times using a company credit card to fuel up his personal vehicle at the 7-Eleven at Magnolia Plaza. He also filled up portable gas cans while at 7-Eleven. Last month in Sumter County Court, he pleaded no contest to a charge of grand theft. He has been placed on probation for 3 years in order to make restitution to his former employer. Shame on you, man. You're old enough to know better. A village of Polo Ridge man has been jailed after testing positive to cocaine. Stephen Safardi, 59, was being held without bond at the Marion County Jail after a urine sample tested positive for cocaine during a visit in April to his probation office. People just don't learn. They just don't learn. Safardi, who lives with his 84-year-old mother, had been placed on probation after a 2022 arrest in Marion County when he was found to be in possession of crack cocaine and a pipe. Let me just say, I get criticism a lot saying something about people's children living with them and maybe they need help and that's why they're there and blah, blah, blah and all this and that. That's true. There's no doubt. This guy's going to be one of them. And he's just one of 1,000. That I don't report all of them, just one every now and then to let you know what's actually going on here inside the villages. These people say they're coming down to help their parents, and they really don't. They use their parents as a way to save money or have extra money to buy drugs, go to Walmart and shoplift, rip off a next door neighbor that's got dementia. I'm going to go over and help them out, and then they end up stealing their diamond ring. You've heard it here on the news. This is what happens. Safardi, who lives with his 84-year-old mother, had been placed on probation in 2022 after an arrest at Marion County when he was found to be in possession of a crack cocaine pipe. Safardi has a history of local arrests. In 2019, he was arrested with a crack pipe after he was pulled over and a canine alerted on his vehicle. Safardi had been arrested in 2014 after he was caught driving on a suspended license. And here's another update, kinda. We got this guy before, running around on a moped, no driver's license, no anything. A Village of Belvedere man landed back behind bars after violating conditions of his bond. Brian Jamie Bowers, 46, who lives at 2837 Grant Way in the Village of Belvedere, was being held without bond at the Sumter County Detention Center after his arrest this past week. Bowers was originally arrested on April 17 when he was caught riding a base collar moped eastbound on County Road 466 when he made a turn onto Belvedere Boulevard, according to the arrest report. A deputy noticed the moped did not have a license plate and it had been traveling on a public highway. During a traffic stop, a deputy learned that Bowers does not have a valid driver's license. Bowers was restless and was profusely sweating. In addition, his pupils were dilated.
The Indiana
native was in possession of 0.8 grams of a white cake-like substance believed to be cocaine. Bowers struggled through field sobriety exercises. He provided breath samples that registered .000. He provided a urine sample upon request. He was arrested on charges of possession of cocaine, driving under the influence, and operating a motorcycle without a license. He was released after posting a $3,150 bond. I don't know, man. I just don't get it anymore. A 77-year-old villager was arrested after a scheduled home inspection turned ugly. Judy-Aline Smersey Stanton was arrested Friday evening on a felony charge of battery at her home at 3942 Zenith Loop in the village of Osceola Hills. A woman and property manager went to the home to conduct a scheduled inspection. The woman had requested the property manager accompany her to the home due to previous issues, animosity, and tension between she and Smersey Stanton. There were hostile words exchanged according to the arrest report of Sumter County office. Smersey Stanton became upset trying to explain her perspective and struck the victim with both hands in her right arm, chest, and causing her to move back, according to the arrest report. As a result, more words were exchanged. Smersey Stanton ordered the other woman and the property manager to leave the premises. Smersey Stanton was taken into custody and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. The charge was elevated to a felony because the victim was over the age of 65. Smersey Stanton was released after posting a $500 bond. Does anybody understand what the hell's going on here? An inspection. Woman and the property manager went to the home to conduct a scheduled inspection. I don't know what inspection they're talking about. A home inspection because somebody bought it? A home inspection because they're getting ready to sell it? Is it rented out to this lady? And in that contract, and this happens a lot, and I see no problem with it, if you're renting a home, let's say for a year from somebody, that they have the right to schedule a home inspection to make sure that inside that home, you're not tearing it up. And they want to make sure everything's okay, and that's it. Is it one of those inspections? I don't get it, but it sounds like this lady's a nut. Another nut job in the villages. I should have a special report, and that should be what it's called. Another nut job living in the villages, and have nothing but a news report of all these nuts that keep getting arrested for drugs, shoplifting, and just doing stupid. Here's another one that could be an update. I recognize the face real quick. I haven't read it yet. You get it when I get it, but I recognize the face. He's been arrested before. A villager has been arrested after an alleged brawl over a golf cart. David Clifford Roach, 71, of the village of Virginia Trace is a good location, was arrested after the alleged altercation which took place Saturday night at his home. A woman had returned home and got into an argument with Roach. He took the keys to the golf cart and shoved her. He drove away in the golf cart, according to the arrest report of Sumter County Sheriff's Office. The woman suffered multiple scrapes on the back of her legs. There was fresh blood from the injury. When Roach returned to the resident, the Greensburg, PA native told deputies the woman had come home intoxicated. They got into a verbal argument. He grabbed the keys to 2 golf carts and a car. He locked the house and left the residence. He was arrested on a charge of battery and booked at Sumter County Detention Center. He was released after posting a $500 bond. Earlier this year, Roach lost his driver's license after pleading no contest to a charge of driving under the influence. He has also been placed on probation for 1 year in order to perform 50 hours of community service. He had been seen staggering to his golf cart on the night of December 22nd at Lake Sumter Landing. Well, Mr. Roach, let me just say, in case you don't know, and I'm sure you do know, and I'll let anybody else know, you get arrested here for DUI or for any reason, and you lose your license for whatever reason, that means you cannot operate a motorized vehicle at all in the state of Florida. That also includes your golf cart. You cannot drive it. So when he says he got the keys, got in the cart, and drove away, right then that's a violation of his probation, and it can be revoked, and he can go straight to jail. A villager was arrested after allegedly street racing near Morris Gate on County Road 466 and Morris Boulevard. You guys. Jeffrey Dean Boyce, 54, the village of Tamarind Grove, was at the wheel of a gold 2009 Lincoln MKZ sedan at about 8:30 p.m. Monday, when a Sumter County Sheriff's deputy in an unmarked vehicle saw Boyce's car and a second vehicle street racing in a reckless manner at a high rate of speed, according to the arrest report. The deputy initiated a pursuit, but disengaged due to concerns about public safety. Within minutes, a 911 caller reported seeing the vehicles in the vicinity of Buena Vista Boulevard. It was suspected a crash had taken place. Boyce's vehicle, which had damage to the driver's side front tire, was spotted near Beef O'Brady's at Southern Trace Plaza. Multiple pieces of metal was found in the roadway and were believed to have come from the undercarriage of Boyce's car. The North Carolina native was arrested on a charge of failure to stop for law enforcement officer and driving without a license. He's street drag racing and he knows he doesn't have a driver's license. This is how they thumb up their nose to that law. I got no driver's license in the state of Florida? No big deal, right? He was booked at some kind of detention center. Bond was set at $5,150. I tell you what, I think our legal system here really needs to get downright tough with this no driver's license violation stuff. And I recognize this face too. He'd been arrested before. These are all updates, I think. Except for the drag racer. A villager was arrested after going out to breakfast at a local restaurant. An officer spotted a white Ford F-150 pickup at about 8:30 a.m. Saturday at Perkins Restaurant at La Plaza Grande and ran a license plate, which led to the discovery that the vehicle's registered owner, 49-year-old James Stevens of the historic site of the Villages, has been classified as a habitual traffic offender according to the arrest report. The Wisconsin native has had a long history of driving-related arrests. When Stevens got into the pickup and started to drive away, the officer initiated a traffic stop. He was arrested on a felony charge of driving while license suspended. He was booked at the Lake County Jail and released after posting a $5,000 bond. Stevens served 10 days in jail last year after a 20-year-old woman complained about his unwanted advances at Red Lobster at Buffalo Ridge Plaza. I remember that story, and so do you. The people were sitting at a booth somewhere. There was 4 of them, having dinner, not bothering a soul. This guy comes over and starts making sexual advances to a woman he didn't even know. Nobody at the table knew the guy. This is the guy. The closing of Sonny's Real Pit Barbecue in the Villages has shocked and saddened fans of the restaurant. Tuesday marked the restaurant's final day of operation at 1128 Canal Street at Lake Sumter Landing. I was shocked at the news of Sonny's closing so abruptly, with no chance to say goodbye to our favorite workers. We've been regulars there for 10 years and had some really delicious meals, said Kathy Kaminsky of the Village of St. James. Likewise, Ruth Mahoney was caught off guard by the news. I always enjoyed eating at Sonny's in the Villages. I hate to see them leave, she said. Sonny's, which operates about 100 restaurants, will continue to operate locations in Bushnell, Inverness, and Bellevue. The Sonny's restaurant chain dates back to 1968 when it was founded by Floyd Sonny Tillman of Gainesville. The company began franchising in 1977. In 1991, Bob Yarmouth purchased the company. You know, Sonny's is one of them restaurants, either you like it or you don't. I don't think there's ever been an in-between about it. I've been to several Sonny's. I've stopped at many Sonny's barbecue pits in Georgia. The one at Lake Sumter, I've probably been there half a dozen times over the years. But when it comes to barbecue, I'm not a big barbecue fan anyway, just so you know. I like barbecue sandwiches. Yes, I can eat them. I'm not a fan of them. Barbecue ribs, I do love barbecued ribs if they're good. And, you know, that being said, everybody's got their own idea of what's good. I have my favorite place to go to get barbecued ribs. And once I find a good place, I don't generally venture out after that. I found it. This is it. I don't see no reason to try anymore. I've been to barbecues, Sonny's there, and had barbecued ribs. Didn't care for them all that much. But I ain't got nothing bad to say about it. Don't take it from me because I'm not a barbecue fan to start with. And neither is Sue, for that matter. A villager identified his son as a theft suspect caught on surveillance at a local Walmart. The 85-year-old Village of Santo Domingo resident confirmed that his son, 59-year-old Brian Bybee, was caught on surveillance in connection with the theft of merchandise May 3rd at the Walmart at Sarasota Plaza, according to the arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Office. A deputy went to the home for confirmation of the identity of the suspect. Bybee, who has a long criminal history and numerous theft convictions, had been at the wheel of a black Dodge pickup that left the store parking lot and contained the stolen merchandise. The license plate number was captured by the surveillance camera. Bybee was arrested Tuesday on a felony charge of theft and booked at Sumter County Detention Center. Bond was set at $2,500. In 2016, Bybee was arrested with drugs in Fruitland Park. The previous year, he was arrested in the parking lot of a Perkins restaurant in the Villages. I kind of remember that report. So there you are, another person living with mom and dad, here to help mom and dad. At least dad done the right thing there. Some Courtyardville owners in the Villages are in arms over a botched fiber installation project that has upended their daily lives. Quantum Fiber, previously known as CenturyLink Fiber, began the installation several weeks ago in the Allendale Villas in the village of Duval. Soon residents began complaining about the disruption, which included damage to their irrigation systems. Quantum moved on to the Seneca Villas in the village of Hemingway, where the problems only got worse. A 93-year-old woman suffered through having her water cut off, and she had to boil her water for 3 days. In addition, her cable and internet service provided by Quantum's rival Comcast was also accidentally severed. Comcast is temporarily running a bright orange cable to the woman's home across neighbor's property to provide service. Oh, this sounds like a nightmare. The streets have been damaged along with driveways. Residents packed a Community Development District Sub-Board of Supervisors meeting Thursday morning at Seabreeze Recreation Center. CDD 7 Board Chairman Jerry Vicente, who has been fielding plenty of calls and complaints from residents, took the proactive step of making sure Quantum was represented at the meeting. It looks like a war zone out there, Vicente said. Vicente has pledged to hold Quantum's feet to the fire during the installation. We're going to stay on top of them, Vicente promised the residents. Quantum began the fiber installation in CDD 7. Presumably, it will be moving on to the rest of the villages. Work has already progressed along Odell Circle. Well, by the time they get down to my neighborhood, they better get their act straight, because we're not going to tolerate it. Here's an update to a long dispute, of which I never did get the whole story here on this. I don't understand it. I got a lot of questions, but I can't ask them. A couple has agreed to pay $12,000 to settle a lawsuit over a home destroyed by fire in 2022 in the Villages. James and Christine Noonan agreed to pay the money to settle the lawsuit, which had been filed by the Community Development District 9 Board of Supervisors. The supervisors agreed to the settlement when they met Thursday afternoon at Seabreeze Recreation Center. The board had been under pressure from neighbors who were unhappy that the Noonans had been slow to replace their home at 3000 Lurville Road in the village of Gilcrest. In the lawsuit, CDD9 had alleged that the couple ignored repeated warnings about deed compliance violations at the property and created a danger to the public health, safety, welfare, and property values of citizens of Sumter County, particularly those located within VCDD number 9, the lawsuit states. Supervisors believe that the Noonans drug their feet and took advantage of their compassion. Promises were made about the reconstruction of the home, but those promises were never kept. Supervisors said the neighbors put up with the eyesore much longer than necessary. Property records showed that Noonans bought another home in the Villages while the problems persisted at the home that was destroyed by fire. The Noonans still owned the home on Lurville Road. They bought it in 2021 for $800,000. The home has been fully restored, and I did a report and showed pictures of the new home. Here's my only question about all this. The people's homes burnt down. They couldn't live there. So they went and bought another home. And I know they're going to use that against them to do that. Well, they got to live somewhere. I mean, what are they supposed to do? Move into a hotel for months after months after month? I suppose one could do that, but they chose to buy another home. So I don't understand. You know, they say, well, it took them too long to build a home. Well, most of this would be insurance. Insurance companies down here deny everything. You know, so there's a fight right there. So I don't know if you can hold these people totally responsible for something that insurance has probably got a lot to do with. Haciendas of Mission Hills home was subject to a public hearing over an ongoing problem with weeds. Hacienda Mission Hills is not too far from Lake Sumter. It's also not that far from Spanish Springs. Very nice little area, kind of tucked back. I like the area a lot. Sue and I used to feed cows there, believe this or not, back in the day. Really not a golf cart trail, but we used to go down in a golf cart with a bag of oranges and feed them to the cows. The deed-compliance case concerning the home at 598 Asada Avenue owned by Tailing Zai and Lee Zai was heard Thursday afternoon before Community Development District 9 Board of Supervisors at Seabreeze Recreation Center. The original complaint about overgrown weeds was lodged September the 11th with community standards. The property was brought back into compliance on November the 2nd. However, another complaint was lodged April 16th when the weeds returned. Community standards were unable to reach the homeowner despite repeated efforts. The email, which had been listed with the district office, is no longer valid. There was no phone number listed with the district office. Notices have been sent via regular mail and certified mail, but there has been no response. The property remained out of compliance as of Wednesday. the board agreed to find weed problem a reoccurring violation. The board granted 7 days for the property to be brought back into compliance. If it isn't brought back into compliance, fines will be imposed. As a reoccurring violation, if the weeds return again at some point, action can be taken by community standards without having to go through a public hearing process all over again. That means they're going to go in there and they're going to take care of the weeds, probably mow the grass, whatever they need to be done. And from what I can remember, that every time they mow the grass and things like that, it's $250. And they will do this at least once a month, plus $50 a day fines. It will add up fast. Here's the problem, just so you guys know. They might be snowbirds. They're not even here. And this happens a lot through the villages. You'll go to a lot of the area where there are snowbirds and you'll see weeds are growing in the driveway, a lot in the flower beds. Restrictions don't allow that. The bushes need trimmed, the trees need trimmed, there'll be dead limbs hanging down off of trees, and that's because they're not even here. And when they come back in October, November, December, whenever time they decide to come back, all of a sudden you start seeing all these contractor trailers sitting all over the roads because they're in there getting this stuff done. And I appreciate the fact they're getting things done, but when you're not here, there's full-timers here, you still have to keep your property up in pristine condition. This is a premier retirement community. It's not just your average retirement community. A suspected vandal was arrested after a dispute out on the water with a Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission contractor. Justin Pierce Langley, 30, of Lady Lake, turned himself in Wednesday to the Sumter County Detention Center in Bushnell on a charge of criminal mischief. Langley had been involved in April in a dispute with a worker from Applied Aquatic Management Incorporated, a contractor for FWC at Lake, here we are, Panosofsky. I'll explain a little bit about Panosofsky. During the verbal exchange, Langley attempted to use his boat's engine to spray water on a worker. The worker took a photo of Langley as well as snapping a picture of the boat and its license number. The worker returned to Coleman Landing boat ramp where he had parked his boat and trailer. After the worker put his boat on a trailer and began to drive away, he heard a loud scraping noise. He got out of his truck and found that the trailer's passenger side tire was flat. He discovered the valve stem had been removed from the tire. The deputy investigating the vandalism found the boat from the instant out on the water was licensed to Langley's brother. The deputy began looking for Langley, who eventually contacted the deputy by phone. He denied damaging the trailer's tire and claimed he had a photo of the other people responsible for the vandalism. The deputy invited Langley, who has a previous criminal record, to send him the photo, but Langley never sent it because he don't have it. After he turned himself in Wednesday, he was booked at the jail and released after posting a $150 bond. Now, here's what's happening. It ain't just Panosofsky, even though that's the latest one. You got Ocklawaha. You'll hear that once in a while. Panosofsky. Coleman is one you're going to hear. There's a few other ones. As the villages grows, if they're in the line of fire, let's say, of property that the villages owns and bought, we are starting to encroach on their lifestyle, Florida lifestyle. And it's changing. The traffic, road construction, everything's changing. New stores moving in. They don't like it because they're old Florida. And I sympathize both ways here. We're encroaching on their lifestyle. And so this is what's popping up. It's kind of retaliation. They don't like it. There's all kinds of reports that I see every day, but I don't report them, where there's road rage and they holler, damn Yankee and all that kind of. They don't want you here. Things change. Better get used to it. Well, how many holes in ones of golf did we get this week? Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's get on with it. An 84-year-old villager was thrilled when he got his 12th hole-in-one. Good Lord. Zane Atkins, a 23-year resident of the village of Valle Verde, scored his latest lucky ace on Thursday, May 9th at hole number 3 at the El Santiago Executive Golf Course. He used a pitching wedge. After completing the second hole, daughter Deb Parsons asked her father if any of his previous 11 holes-in-ones had been at El Santiago course. No, but you would think I would have had one on this course by now, he responded. So he must play there a lot. Well, congratulations on your unbelievable 12th hole-in-one, Zane Atkins. Gary Pratt of the village of Palo Alto was thrilled to make his second hole-in-one since moving to the villages and taking up golf 4 years ago. The lucky shot was at 139 yards with a 5-iron at hole number 9 at the Della Vista Executive Course. The shot was witnessed by Steve Gerwin of the village of Hacienda East, who is also the person who encouraged Pratt to take up golf. Pratt's first hole-in-one was in 2021 at hole number 6 at Hilltop Executive Golf Course at a distance of 120 yards. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Gary. Tom Bowes of the village of Kaysen Hammock got his first hole-in-one on Tuesday, May 7th at hole number 2 at the Okeechobee Executive Golf Course. Bowes started playing golf in October, scored the lucky ace at 90 yards using a 6-iron. The hole-in-one was witnessed by Danny Bowen, Mike Berry, and Mark Verstig. Congratulations on your hole-in-one, Tom. Monica Cortez got her first hole-in-one while visiting her parents in the villages for Mother's Day weekend. She scored the lucky ace at 135 yards at hole number 3 at the Hilltop Executive Golf Course. She was visiting her parent, Carol and Diego Cortez, at the village of Tierra del Sol South for Mother's Day weekend. Monica is a beginner golfer, and we recently bought her new golf clubs for her birthday, said her proud father. Well, congratulations on your first hole-in-one, Monica. How about a couple letters to the editor? To the editor, I understand the residents' concerns over Paradise being rebuilt, but they do have Hilltop and Southside pools as well as access to Hacienda, Chula Vista, Savannah, and Mulberry. I am not a priority pool member. I always thought the cost was too high for a single person. That's sent in by Gillian Beck from the village of Rio Grande. Well, Gillian, I don't disagree with anything you say, but now you see how the original people that bought up there around the Orange Blossom Gardens feels when they took their pool away from them and told them, now if you want to come here, you got to buy a priorities member. Now you see how the rest of us feel when they took Katie Bells away from us. To the editor, my husband and I purchased land in Oxford in 1997. The villages only consisted of Spanish Springs and the original Orange Blossom Gardens. I remember them days. Our friends thought we were crazy for buying property when the closest grocery store was either in Wildwood or Bellevue. It was. Experiencing the growth of the villages was both exciting and sad at the same time because of all the beautiful open farmland that was being used for homes. Seems like the villages has no end in their buildings of homes, squares, businesses, etc. It's out of control. The roads are not equipped with all the new tenants and industries that are already here. When is enough enough? That's sent in by Maria D. Damasio from Oxford. Well, Maria, when is enough enough? When people quit buying. They buy these homes faster than the developer can build them. And as long as that's happening, it'll continue on. It's just progress. All right, with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you're not a Patreon member, please join. We really appreciate it. That's really what supports our whole channel, that and some sponsors. So anyway, be well, take care, be aware. I'll see you on the other side.
And don't leave that key in the golf cart.